Week one of the NFL regular season in the books, and the Steelers win a surprisingly exciting, surprisingly offensive game against the Jets to begin the year. Tim Benz, Mark Madden with you, Madden and Benz Unfiltered, to talk about it, brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore, right across from PNC Park. Go there in advance of the Steelers home opener, which takes place on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. Steelers will come in 1-0. Mike's, by the way, 500 available craft beers, TVs, big screens all over the place to watch any sports of your choosing. Saturday, you can go there for Duquesne's game. You can go there for the backyard brawl, all the college football action, Pirates anytime they're on TV. Get yourself a steak on a stone and have yourself a good time at Mike's at the end of the Clemente Bridge. Mark, let's start talking about week one. Steelers get the win over the Jets. No one saw the final score coming. You and I were both of the opinion, I believe, that the Steelers would win a close game, but not at this pace, not the way the offense performed. And for as many questions as I had about the defense really being historic coming into this year, I never expected it to be that bad against the Jets and Justin Fields.
Well, the overreaction to that win is well underway, and it is unbearable. Mark Cavalli from the McAfee Show just tweeted, "Where are all the experts who said Rodgers was washed up? Relax, big boy. It's one game against a terrible team. Maybe one reason Rodgers was so bad when he played for the Jets is because he never got a chance to play against the Jets." Rodgers was excellent on the day, full credit. The defense was just simply terrible against the Jets' rushing attack that finished near the bottom of the NFL last year. You know, they've obviously added Justin Fields, and he did a great job. But nonetheless, it's the friggin' Jets. Broderick Jones was just awful by all accounts, leaving Rodgers out to dry, got sacked 4 times. So it's a win, but that's all it is. That's absolutely all it is. Beyond how encouraging Rodgers' play was. But again, it's one game against a real bad team.
Of course, the subplot that everybody was talking about was Rodgers versus Fields, and we're going to get more into that. But since you brought it up, Mark, as far as Broderick Jones goes, there was another much more quiet subplot, and that was the draft day leap by the Steelers over the Jets to get Broderick Jones. And then I, like a lot of people, looked at the Jets and thought they panic-picked Will McDonald. He turned Broderick Jones into a turnstile on a couple of occasions, as did Quinnen Williams. That was an under-discussed storyline, and that one definitely went in favor of the Jets. And I'll go back to your point about what Cavalli said. Look, I was dubious of the signing of Aaron Rodgers too. I'll admit it, but part of the reason I was dubious of it, and this still has a long way to go, was I don't know how many games he's going to play. Like, how long is he going to last? And the way he was beaten around yesterday because of Jones and the offensive line, that's not sustainable.
Well, in Pittsburgh, it's been so long since we had big victories, and probably so long until we will again, that we over-celebrate the small ones. Like the Buccos sweep the Dodgers. Oh, they could win the World Series if they were in the playoffs, and then they get swept by the Milwaukee Brewers. Rodgers has a good game this week. Maybe he gets hurt next week against Seattle. Again, he played good against the Jets, but it's only the Jets. It's only one game. Although things are really falling into place for the Steelers to get their usual good start, at least like last year anyway, because every team they play in the first 5 games lost in NFL's week one, except for Minnesota, which doesn't play till tonight. So we're getting put in a position where we're going to overestimate and over-celebrate and over this and over that, and it'll probably come crumbling down at some point. You know, if you look at the weaknesses from yesterday, they might be far more prevalent, just the one singular strength of Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, where'd Roman Wilson go? Where'd Darnell Washington go? How come Kenneth Gainwell played more than Jaylen Warren? There was a bunch of stuff from out of left field.
A lot of storylines, to be sure. I want to stay on the quarterbacks for a second, Mark, because it's easy to default to, well, Rodgers was better than Fields because in the final analysis, the Steelers won, and Fields didn't get the job done.
Again, Tim, over-celebrating. Let's go crazy because Aaron Rodgers was 2 points better than Justin Fields.
Yeah, and Fields shouldn't be able to do that to the Steelers defense on a bad day or a day when they're banged up or injured or whatever. This was week one when they were fresh and supposedly flying around. And like you saw, for instance, TJ Watt make some pop plays. He had some tackles for loss. He nailed Fields some at least once, maybe twice. Didn't get a sack, though, per se. He did blow him up on a run play. And just like everybody else, the defense was carved apart against the run, which, the old standby is the Steelers run the ball and stop the run. They did neither against the Jets. They were poor in both capacities against the Jets.
Well, that's the myth. And the myth was dispelled on the first play of the game when Breece Hall busted one off for 18 yards. And then later when Justin Fields walked into the end zone on a bootleg, fooling TJ Watt so badly it silenced JJ Watt on TV. I mean, there were just so many things to not like from that game, but they won. And you can retreat to that, and you should. It's what fans do, but so much went wrong.
Going back to the quarterback conversation, I sort of cut myself off there. Where I was going with it was the simple thing to say is that Rodgers was better than Fields because Rodgers won and Fields didn't. But, for as much as people want to look at the last two drives and say the defense came up big and stopped Fields and the offense on that third down play, hey, credit to Chuck Clark, who came in mid-game, ended up leading the team in tackles, and then made the big play to stop Fields along with Highsmith. Those are the two guys that stood out on that play. It's not like Rodgers led them on the final drive. They still had to rely on a 60-yard kick from the kicker, Chris Boswell, to get the victory. So I kind of look at the QB play as a wash, obviously, Mark, when you look at how good those two guys played against the opposing defense.
Well, no, Rodgers played real good. I mean, 4 touchdown passes. That's major league stuff. That's what real quarterbacks do.
I'm just saying if you want to bring it down to the last drive, if you want to bring it down to the last drive, like a lot of people are saying, like, the Steelers stopped Fields when they had to stop him. Well, I mean, Chris Boswell was the reason why the Steelers won, or else we're not saying that.
They should give him more money, Tim. They should give everybody more money.
Yeah, what'd you say about Cam Hayward? Just wave a couple $100 under his nose and he'll wake back up again after he got poked in the eye?
Yeah, when he was down, I just said wave a wad of 20s under his nose. He'll jump right back up. Or, Tim, how about a bag of Arby's roast beef sandwiches, Wendy's, some kind of fast food, because he is reaching maximum density.
Well, it's get-go.
For Casey Hampton territory.
It's get-go, like the commercials he's doing with Connor, and at no point during that commercial did Connor turn around and pop him after the commercial was done, like he did on special teams, costing him 15 yards.
Well, with those get-go commercials, it looks like Cam's going, and then going back and getting some more.
He just didn't do much. And we can talk about the contract. I'm sure people have some comments on the contract situation.
I definitely do. All they gave Cam was the old okey doke. Okay, they gave him some incentives based on playoffs that honestly probably won't get reached, but he gets to save face and they move on. But that's the old okey doke. Yeah, that was no sort of victory for Cam, but nor was it a victory for the Steelers, Tim, because however slightly, they broke their policy of adjusting contracts with more than 1 year left.
Yeah, I don't know if they now I guess they could always retreat to this and say, yeah, we'll give you some adjusted contract money, but it's got to come in the form of team bonuses. I suppose they could do that, but then again, what other player is going to bend to that? Say, okay, well, if you're going to use Cam as the precedent, we shouldn't even bother talking about it because that's not a precedent we're going to use.
They acquiesced to a 36-year-old fat dude where they basically ran Troy, Ben, and Hines out of town. And not to say that those were the wrong decisions, but why is this the guy you acquiesce to? Why him?
Yeah, and by the way, Derek Harmon might be good. I don't know that if Derek Harmon is in there that they stop the Jets running to the degree that everybody is now assuming. Derek Harmon is a nice first-round draft choice, but I don't think he changes the entirety and alters the course of that game all by himself.
Oh, no way. No way. I mean, you want him there to help stop the run, but he would not have, made them a run-stopping force yesterday by any means. By the way, Tim, note to Cam, if you're going to get fat, don't wear like the extra sweatshirts and all that crap underneath. Better to be cold than just bloat yourself even further artificially.
Should Boswell hold out this week?
I think Watt should hold out this week. He's making $6 million less than Micah Parsons, Tim. It's a travesty.
Oh, is that the new talking point that TJ Watt is underpaid now? Is that what Steelers fans are saying?
I think that when they break a forever club policy to give the washed up defensive tackle more money, that anybody is fair game to go back in now.
Did they stay away from the run game just because it wasn't working, or just because they don't have as much faith in it as they do Rodgers? I mean, maybe it's kind of the same thing, but it's weird to hear.
Remember you talked about how Arthur Smith.
Yeah, that's where I was going with this. Yeah, Arthur Smith.
He wouldn't label Jalen Warren a number one back.
Yeah, he was asked about it, and his response was to talk about the other two guys in the same sentence as Jalen Warren. Like, at no point did he say yes when he was asked if Jalen Warren could be a every down back. He skirted that question as deftly as he could, and it wasn't all that deft because everybody noticed. And you just signed the guy 36 hours earlier.
Yeah, you signed the guy to a new deal, then Kenneth Gainwell got more snaps.
I think Gainwell's going to be like what Mewelde Moore was like in 2008, where he's kind of viewed as the third back and the third down back, and you never really think of him as a base guy to carry the ball, but he might be out there more than anybody else. And this is going exactly how I said it would in the preseason, which is Jalen Warren is going to be the first and second down guy. They're going to take him off the field, put Gainwell on as the third down guy. You're just not going to see Caleb Johnson, because you can always go Caleb Johnson as the first and second down guy and have Warren be the third down guy, eat blitz pickup, and go out for pass patterns. I think that's the grand vision, but they don't think Johnson is ready. And I don't think they like Warren enough as the first and second down back. So you get a lot of Gainwell.
What yesterday tells me is the owner, the GM, and the coach think Jalen Warren's the number one back. The offensive coordinator does not.
That's entirely possible. And if he thinks that Caleb Johnson is the number one back, then he's got to step up and show that he's worthy of that. And
I was shocked, Tim. The tight ends really didn't do a lot either outside of Jonnu on that quasi-jet sweep for the touchdown.
I thought Freiermuth had two timely catches. He wasn't targeted heavily, but
that's fair.
He had two timely catches for first downs. And one thing they did do is they gave DK Metcalf a chance to show off his run after catch ability, and he did. And it was a good way
That's right. That Rodgers does a good job throwing Metcalf into yak.
Mm-hmm. And ball placement is huge. I mean, for as well as Fields may have played, and for as much as we're talking about him positively, there were times where you saw a more polished quarterback puts the ball in a place where it's easier for the wide receiver to do more with it.
Well, of course, yeah. And I'll tell you one thing that really gratified me, Tim, that made me feel good. It warmed my cockles. After the game when Rodgers said, I was glad to beat anyone associated with the Jets. And I'm going, there he is. There he is. There's that guy. He finally showed up. Are we going to see more? I hope so.
Yeah, he was talking about Glenn, obviously, and maybe some others within the organization. Every time you bring up the Jets to him, he does what Russell Wilson used to do and just runs through everybody he's ever played with. He just goes through this list of player names.
What's Aaron Glenn got to do with it? Aaron Glenn never coached him in New York. Aaron Glenn didn't want him. Okay, that's his prerogative as a first-year head coach with New York.
Well, no, but Rodgers was mad that Glenn dismissed him out of hand the moment he showed up at the facility for that meeting, and he said,
what's he supposed to do, waste his time and then cut him?
Well, Rodgers felt like he wasted his time by having him fly out.
But if Aaron Glenn would have called Rodgers to cut him, Rodgers would have bitched because he did it by phone.
Oh, he would have done that. Yeah, but if you're asking what he holds against him, that's what I think he holds against him, was having him fly all the way out and then dismiss him without even really talking to him.
Well, let's see how you do against a good team, okay? And I thought Rodgers played great. He's a professional quarterback, but I was saying exactly that about Russ last year when he played against bad teams. I watched Baltimore and Buffalo last night, and when I watched Dallas and Philadelphia on Thursday, the Steelers don't remotely play that sport.
Very different.
Like Baltimore, do they play Buffalo this year, Tim? I forget.
I don't think they play Buffalo this year.
No, but Baltimore killed them twice. Okay, unless it's a game that means something, because whatever it is Baltimore has always lacked, they still haven't got. Them blowing that lead last night was just incredible.
Oh, I'm sorry, they do play Buffalo. I'm sorry, they play Buffalo. They do at home on the 30th of November. So that's
they're going to get killed.
Yeah, that's a home game on CBS. Killed. My bad. And then they get the Ravens. The 2 Ravens games are coming up later in the season on December 7th, and then the last game of the season.
There are some teams they just can't beat, and those are 2 of them. Now, I know people are going to say, well, Tomlin always gets one over on Harbaugh, right? I forgot about Tomlin's brilliance for a second. But I don't see it this year. This Baltimore team, that's the best roster in football.
Well, before we start talking about Baltimore and Buffalo, let's kind of go back to a point that you made after the podcast. We were sort of talking on the phone for a little bit after the podcast was done, and you said that game against the Jets proves the old theory that they might be good enough to beat every team they're supposed to beat, but at the same time, it's also an indication that they can lose to anybody at any time.
Yeah, and I think they're headed right back to 9-8. That was my season prediction. They're in the mushy middle, and they show no inclination to escape it.
They need to give Rodgers more support because against better teams, he's not going to be able to do what he did against the Jets, and he's just not going to be able to survive without being able to hand off more often, get protection from the run game, and get literal protection from the offensive line. Jones has taken most of the heat, and rightfully so, but it's not like he was the only one that was leaking pressure.
Well, yeah, and it's one thing to get up after you get sacked 4 times in week 1, but in week 2, in week 3, a 41-year-old guy getting hit all the time is going to be cumulative, so that has to stop or at least get cut down.
You brought up the Baltimore game. What else from week 1, Mark? I know you took a lot away from the Chargers game against the Chiefs. I'm still not ready to say that it's the Chiefs' division to lose. I take that back. I think the Chiefs can still win this division.
The Chiefs will not win that division.
I won't be shocked if one of the other 2 teams does. I still think the Chiefs make the playoffs, though. You think the Chiefs aren't even going to make the playoffs, right?
Ain't going to make it. They're worn out. They look worn out on Friday.
So you like the other 2 teams in the West then to make it? Denver and the Chargers?
All 3 teams in the West besides the Chiefs. Tim, I don't think it's...
You like the Raiders more than the Chiefs?
No, not more than the Chiefs. But I think they could take a game from the Chiefs.
I don't think the Chiefs are... The Chiefs aren't going to make the Super Bowl this year. I don't think the Chiefs will make the AFC Championship. I do think
they won't make the playoffs. Write it down. You heard it here.
So who's the other team that sneaks in then? Because you got the Bengals making it, right? So you got at least 2 teams in the West, the Bengals.
I don't know, Tim. Don't bring logic into this. I just said the Chiefs aren't going to make it.
I think there's a soft spot for that last team in. I think it's going to be Cincinnati. I don't think it's going to be the Steelers. I think it'll come down to those 2, though. I think like Houston, although Houston showed some of its colors from last year again in their first game. I think Houston wins the South and probably is better than last year, but I don't think another team from the South gets in.
No, I don't either, but I think Kansas, they played, 16 extra games in the past 6 years, or 18, 19, whatever it is. A lot of extra playoff games, and they're just physically worn out. And Kelsey's not as good as he was. And I think Mahomes is a little beat up.
I think we saw a lot of Herbert and Mahomes doing it with their feet as well as their arms. We certainly saw that from Jackson and Josh Allen last night. You're not going to see that from Rodgers. I don't want to try to see that from Rodgers, or you're going to see Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's going to happen at some point. I hope not, but I think so. Again, they won yesterday. They beat a crappy team, a really crappy team, a bottom 5 team by 2 points on a 60-yard field goal. I don't think it's time to line up the ticker tape parade just yet or to pay Cam his playoff bonuses.
Let's get to some comments here in a second really quickly, Mark, before we do that. Anything on Bubba Chandler getting smoked yesterday and the Pirates getting swept by Milwaukee after momentum was building? Or, speaking of momentum and it being sapped, before the backyard brawl, West Virginia loses to Ohio.
Well, I don't give a rat's ass about none of that. I mean, if they're going to lose to Ohio, it almost takes away the hype for the backyard brawl, doesn't it? It's like, it feels like Pitt can't lose.
And that's the kind of game that Pitt always loses.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just not, even the backyard brawl. I mean, when they did Pitt Penn State every year, I was excited. When they did Pitt West Virginia every year, I was excited. Now that comes and goes sporadically, it's not, college football just ain't for me no more. As far as Bubba Chandler goes, Tim, I had seen the future of pitching in MLB, and its name was bulk relief. That was the answer. It made Bubba Chandler a superstar. He was going to win the Cy Young 4 innings of bulk relief at a time. And now it's all gone. He started a game, Tim. Now it's all gone.
He broke his own momentum as the bulk relief expert. The Pirates could have been trailblazers. If the Rays started the opener, the Pirates could have pioneered bulk relief.
Pirates didn't hit 1 home run against the Brewers.
Yeah, I mean, for as well as they play against the better teams, the Brewers, it's one team where it doesn't go in that direction.
Well, I hesitate to say how they play good against the better teams. I just think they're a bad team that has a good streak once in a while, like even the worst teams do. Like when they won 11 out of 14 before the Brewers series, I wrote in the Trip, every terrible team has good streaks during a season, and right now one is. And that's how it turned out.
All right, Mark, let's get some comments. This comes from Mutated Genome. Broderick Jones couldn't win the starting left tackle job last season, and I suspect if there was a real competition, he wouldn't have won the job this season either. He's awful.
Yeah, who would have won it? Spencer Anderson?
Yeah, nobody would have won it. Maybe that's what he's saying, because there was nobody capable of giving him a competition.
If I'm not mistaken, Tim, all their touchdown plays went to the right side.
I guess they did they? I'm trying to think now if they all went to the right. There's a pass to Calvin Austin. That's kind of where the jet sweep went. Where did Skoranic's score go? I don't remember. Hey, by the way, shout out to him. Some of those down the depth chart guys really cashed in, Mark. Gainwell was huge. Skoranic was huge. Chuck
Tim,
Clark
where is Roman Wilson? What have they done with them?
I don't know. Like I said in the Trib that, you got to give credit to Skoranic for being a guy who impacted the game the way he did, being 4th or 5th in the Steelers depth chart when it comes to receivers. Maybe he's not. Maybe he and Scotty Miller both are in front of Roman Wilson.
Scotty Miller didn't do much either.
This guy, Jonathan, says, one thing is for sure, Aaron wants to be a Steeler. Well, I know he doesn't want to be a Jet, and then the Steelers offered him a contract, so we'll see what he wants to do next year if he decides he wants to play and this year goes well. We'll see how much he wants to be a Steeler.
Yeah, I hesitate to praise the guy for his dedication to the logo when he took forever to get here and when no other offers were pending.
Eric piling on Broderick Jones as well. Have the Steelers destroyed Broderick Jones's career by not playing him at left tackle initially, or did he just naturally stink, or was it simply one game of struggling? No, it's not just one game. It's one game of struggling there, but he's struggled ever since they got him, and no one was a bigger fan of that pick than I was, and it's blown up in my face as it has theirs.
It's a bad draft pick, just like almost all their draft picks are terrible for the past how many years. But hey, con artist, catchy nickname. He does great.
Eric adds 32 points, 182 rushing yards, 392 total yards allowed by the $158 million elite defense against the Jets. Scary to think what good teams will do to this unit, although you're not going to see one, it looks like, this week in Seattle. What did they put up, 13 points against San Francisco? And that's not the San Francisco team of old.
Yeah, Darnold looked terrible at quarterback for Seattle. Getting back to what I said a moment ago, Tim, how many bad decisions do the Steelers have to make before we finally acknowledge that they're horribly mismanaged? Give me a number. Let me know how many bad decisions until we all say that out loud, because they will reach that number.
I don't know what the number is, but you're right. It's infinite when it comes to the Steeler fan loyalty, so long as they don't go below 500.
Well, and the con artist, that nickname, that has kept Omar.
One comes from Golf God 11. That was the most entertaining game the Steelers have played in a long time. I guess you could say long time if you want to go back to the Washington or Cincinnati games last year. I thought those were entertaining games when Russ was quarterbacking and things were really rolling in the right direction. It's definitely the most entertaining opener they've had in a while. I mean, like, that was a slog last year by comparison. It was Boswell with 6 field goals to win in Atlanta.
Oh, no, it was a great game. I mean, like,
the game was a lot of fun.
It wasn't a great game. It was a fun game. Well put. Yeah, I agree.
The offense was good, and it was back and forth. There were a lot of lead changes. We can't get around the fact, Mark, I don't know what they're saying in New York right now in terms of New York sports talk radio. They might be ripping Russell Wilson and calling for Jackson Dart, by the way, for the Giants fans. But for the Jets fans, there's 2 things you got to point out. Number one, they win if they don't fumble that kickoff, and that was the backup kick returner that was out there for them. And 2, I thought Aaron Glenn was dumb, speaking of special teams, for not just taking the gift of the extra point. When Folk missed the extra point, they decided to go for 2. They missed it, and then they chased it the whole game and missed another one, and that's what cost them. That was the difference.
I agree, but that's really easy to say in hindsight. I like that coaches are experimenting with stuff like that. I like that they're defying the conventional wisdom.
Jeremy says the O-line will get Rodgers killed this season. The defense showed it was overpaid and overhyped. Both those things are true, and I don't know how much evidence really needed to convince ourselves of that, but one game certainly does help.
Yeah. Again, I hate to take too much away from one game against a bad team, both good and bad, because sometimes you play down to the level in terms of the poor performances. The stuff that I don't get is, like I said, the underuse of some guys who were supposed to be, who were camp phenomenons. The fact that they're still real bad against the run. It's not just one game with that. It's in their DNA now to be bad against the run.
Richard says it's only one game, but the most expensive defense in the league looks bad, especially against the run. Rodgers looks good, but how does he hold up as 41-year-old behind that line? The Jets' fumble on the punt is where the game momentum changed. It was a kickoff. Yeah, that was the biggest play in the game for sure.
That was where not where the Steelers won the game. It was where the Jets lost the game.
Mark, before we go here, I want to throw one other nugget at you and get your thoughts on it. Apparently, Bruce Dickinson is going to sing the national anthem from Iron Maiden at the Steelers game.
Huh?
Next for the Seattle game.
Okay.
You're not a fan?
I know his solo group's in town. I think playing at Stage AE.
Is that where it's? Oh, is that the connection?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know how
he does like one Iron Maiden deep cut when he does solo concerts, and otherwise just does his solo stuff, which I do not find all that intriguing.
Maybe he can bring the rest of Iron Maiden to play the national anthem with him. If they do, Mark, they should play Wasted Years to honor every season since 2016.
Yeah, Tim, I'm taken aback by the news. I mean, that's very un-Rooney-esque to bring in the heavy metal guy, ain't it?
Yeah, you would think normally it's just, the local opera singer who comes in, and is at the Benedum or something like that. That's a big one. Or they play a trumpet or a saxophone or something like that.
Yeah,
that's
they could have Kenny G come in and play for Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny G is turning himself into a cult hero here.
Yeah, no, I mean, Dickinson's great. It's kind of weird is all.
Yeah, it is a weird I mean, what's the sport? Oh, fencing. He's a big fencing fan, isn't he? Correct. Isn't that like his hobby?
He's like an English nobleman type of fencer, yeah.
Oh, okay. Does he do LARPing too, like role recreation, things like that?
God, I hope not, but it wouldn't surprise me.
All right, Mark, you are on.
Maiden credit though. Maiden's been in the trenches and done really well, like forever.
What's that? Say that again. I lost that.
Maiden's been in the trenches a long time and done really well, like forever.
What was the last album you really liked from them?
Really liked?
Yeah, like going back, like if they had a new one, like a new stuff album that you actually liked or no?
See, I think they peaked with Number of the Beast, which was Dickinson's first album. And I'm not to say that they've, done poorly since then, but I thought that was their top album. And part of it was Clive Burr was still the drummer then, and he was a less traditional heavy metal drummer. He got replaced by Nico McBrain, who has since retired very recently. But I just, there was something about that album, the songs. I mean, I really like that album. They've done great work since then. But Tim, to clarify, I don't always go to see Iron Maiden, not even when they're here. I mean, I'm a fan, but, meh.
Maybe they should play Run to the Hills instead of Renegade in the fourth quarter for the defense.
Depends on the score, Tim.
That would be a little bit more apropos based on what we saw against the Jets on Sunday. All right, Marcus.
Yeah, but then you'd be asking Cam to run.
Mark is going to be on at 2 o'clock. Make sure you remember that the adjusted hours have started for the football season now. Full recap from Mark at 2. Where's your viewing party this week, Mark?
It will be at Pleasant Valley Golf Course down in Connellsville. Tuffy Schallenberger, the Riverhounds owner, his place. He took the clubhouse, made it this gigantic, great, big TV type of sports bar.
So check that out. Mark will be there. I will be on with Breakfast with Benz all week long, and then the Friday football live stream right here with Mike DeCourcy and me at 9 o'clock, brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. Meet me at Mike's.